The wedding hall was full of lights, music, and happy people. Everyone was smiling, dressed in fancy clothes, and clapping for the lovely couple. I stood quietly at the back, wearing a plain black dress, watching it all. No one noticed me, not even the groom, Ethan, the man who once promised to love me forever. He looked so happy standing beside my stepsister, Emma. 1 year ago, he broke my heart and left me with nothing. I cried for days, begging him not to leave me, but he didn't care. I lost my job, my money, and even my hope. Everyone thought I had died that night, but I didn't. I came back stronger. After I disappeared, people believed I was gone for good. The news said I had taken too many pills and died in a hotel. Even my own mother didn't come to find me. Emma and Ethan moved on quickly, like I never existed. But the truth is, someone kind saved me that night. They gave me food, a place to stay, and a new name. I spent months healing and learning everything about the people who hurt me. I found out how they stole my name and made me look like a criminal. They took my life. Now I was ready to take it back. I didn't come to fight or scream. I came with the truth. I had proof that Ethan and Emma had framed me to hide their lies. They tricked people, stole money, and pushed me out of their way. But I found every secret and kept it safe. Now I had the power to destroy their perfect day. I just needed the right moment to speak. When I walked into their wedding, no one knew who I was. But before the night ended, they would remember me forever. I was back, and I wasn't the same girl anymore. I found a seat in the last row, far from the stage where they stood. No one noticed me as they smiled, took pictures, and talked about how perfect the couple looked. I kept my head down and listened closely to every word they said. Emma was glowing in her white dress, waving like a queen. Ethan stood tall beside her, holding her hand tightly. If anyone had told me this would happen a year ago, I would have laughed. I thought Ethan loved me. I trusted him with everything I had. I never thought he could throw me away like trash. But today, I was watching him marry the girl who ruined my life. They told everyone I had gone crazy. Emma said I was jealous of her happiness and wanted to ruin her life. Ethan told people I stole money from his company. None of it was true. I had worked hard to help him build that company. I gave him my time, my heart, and even my savings. But they wanted me out of the picture. So they lied and made me look like a thief. I ended up on the street with no one to help me. But that was the day I decided to change everything. A kind woman named Rose found me and took care of me. She let me stay in her small home and helped me find peace again. I was weak, scared, and lost, but she believed in me. She didn't know my full story, but she knew I needed a second chance. Slowly, I started getting stronger. I found old emails, documents, and files that proved everything Emma and Ethan did. I saved every piece of it on a hidden drive. I learned to be quiet and smart. And now, I was sitting in this wedding, waiting to use it all. The moment of truth was getting closer. The music played softly as guests took their seats and the ceremony was about to begin. I watched as the priest stood ready, holding a book in his hands. Emma smiled sweetly at everyone, like she was the perfect bride. But I knew the truth behind that smile. She was cold, selfish, and had always wanted everything I had. When we were kids, she would steal my toys, my clothes, and even my friends. I never thought she would grow up and steal the man I loved. But here she was, wearing a white dress that should have been mine. Ethan glanced at her like she was his whole world. That look used to be mine, too. I still remember the night everything changed. Ethan came home angry and told me I had ruined a business deal. I was confused. I never touched anything important at his company. Then the police came and showed me papers with my name on them. They said I had stolen over $500,000. I kept saying I was innocent, but no one listened. I was taken away in handcuffs while Ethan stood there, silent. Emma stood in the corner, pretending to cry. But when she thought I couldn't see her, she smiled. That was when I knew they had planned it together. Now they were laughing and pretending like nothing ever happened. I wanted to scream and tell everyone the truth right then. But I held it in. This wasn't the right moment. If I wanted to destroy them completely, I had to be patient. I had to let them think they had won. I had everything ready, the pictures, the files, the voice recordings, all saved on a USB in my purse. And soon, everyone in this room would see the truth. I just had to wait for the perfect moment. The music stopped, and the room became quiet as the priest began to speak. He talked about love, trust, and forever promises. I wanted to laugh. How could they talk about trust when everything between them was built on lies? Emma looked so proud, holding Ethan's hand tightly, as if she had truly won. Ethan stared at her with soft eyes, like he believed she was his angel. But angels don't destroy people and smile while doing it. My heart beat faster as the priest told them to say their vows. Ethan went first, speaking with a calm voice. He said Emma made him whole, that she healed his broken heart. Those were the same words he once told me. I held my breath as Emma began her vows. She said Ethan was her hero, her protector, and the man she had waited her whole life for. I remembered how she cried in front of me the day I introduced her to him. She said he was just a nice guy and not her type. But now, she stood there saying she had loved him from the start. She said she would never hurt him and would always be honest. I almost stood up and shouted at her. Honest? She helped frame me, lied to my family, and left me to die. She never loved him. She loved what he could give her. And soon, everyone would know it. The crowd clapped loudly after their vows, cheering for their true love. I looked around and saw happy faces, completely fooled by the show. They didn't know the pain behind the pretty decorations and fake smiles. I could feel the USB drive in my purse, heavy with truth. My fingers touched the zipper as I got ready to pull it out. But something stopped me. A voice inside told me to wait a little longer. Let them think they had truly won. The higher they rise, the harder they fall. And I wanted them to fall hard. After the vows, the couple walked down the aisle as the guests threw flower petals in the air. Everyone smiled and cheered while music played in the background. I stood quietly as people began leaving their seats and heading toward the banquet area. I knew what was coming next: food, drinks, dancing, and fake toasts. But I wasn't here to eat or clap. I was here to end their fantasy. I walked slowly toward the main hall, keeping my head down. No one paid attention to me. Just one more face in the crowd. But that was about to change. Inside the banquet room, golden lights hung from the ceiling and flowers covered every table. The air smelled sweet like roses and cake. Waiters moved around with trays of drinks while people laughed and took photos. Emma and Ethan stood at the center, holding hands and thanking their guests. I stayed near the corner, close enough to hear them, but far enough to stay hidden. Then Emma's eyes met mine for just a second. She paused, squinted, and tilted her head. I turned away before she could be sure. I felt my heart race. Did she recognize me? I walked toward a small table near the edge of the room. I needed to think. My plan had been to wait for the first toast before revealing the truth. But Emma had seen something. Maybe it was my face, or maybe it was just a feeling. I couldn't take any chances. I reached into my purse and gripped the USB drive. This tiny thing held everything that could destroy them. I had one more move to make. It had to be perfect. And I had to be ready, because the final moment was getting close. The host tapped his glass with a spoon, calling for everyone's attention. The room fell quiet as he smiled and raised his drink. Let us all toast to Ethan and Emma, he said. Everyone lifted their glasses and smiled, ready to celebrate their so-called perfect love. I stood at the back, my hand tightening around the USB in my purse. This was it, the moment I had waited for. I stepped forward slowly, my heels clicking softly against the floor. People started turning their heads toward me. I walked straight to the microphone, heart pounding, but my face calm. I reached the stage just as the toast ended. Emma's smile dropped the moment she saw me up close. Her eyes widened, and she took a step back. Ethan looked confused, then shocked. Who is that?" someone whispered. My voice was steady as I took the mic. "Before we celebrate this couple, there's something you all need to know," I said. Everyone stared at me in silence. Emma's hand shook, and Ethan's face turned pale. "I'm the woman they tried to erase," I continued. I'm the ex-fiancé who was framed, ruined, and left for dead. A gasp went through the room like a wave. I pulled the USB from my purse and held it up. This drive holds proof of everything: fraud, lies, and betrayal, I said clearly. Emma and Ethan worked together to destroy me so they could have this life. A few people stood up from their chairs, whispering to each other. I handed the USB to the wedding DJ and asked him to play the recording. His hand shook, but he nodded and plugged it in. The speakers filled with voices, Ethan's and Emma's, planning to frame me. Everyone heard it. The silence turned into chaos. And finally, I saw fear in their eyes. The room turned cold as Emma's voice echoed from the speakers. Just sign her name. No one will know, she said in the recording. Then Ethan's voice followed. Once she's gone, we can finally be free. The guests looked at each other in shock. Some stood with their mouths open, while others pulled out their phones to record. Emma tried to run to the DJ, but someone stopped her. Turn that off, she shouted, her voice shaking. Ethan looked like he was frozen in place. His eyes met mine, filled with fear and regret. But I didn't feel sorry for him. This was justice. Emma turned to Ethan, shouting, "Why didn't you delete those files?" Ethan shouted back, "I thought you did." They began arguing in front of everyone, forgetting the crowd. The guests who once cheered for them now backed away in disgust. A woman near the front shouted, "You ruined someone's life for this wedding?" Emma screamed. She was in our way. I stepped forward and spoke into the mic again. "No, I trusted you both. And you threw me away like garbage." Tears filled my eyes, but I didn't cry. I had already cried enough. A man in a black suit came forward. He was a police officer. "We've been waiting for this moment," he said calmly. "Thank you for sharing the proof." He pulled out handcuffs and walked toward Ethan. Emma tried to run, but another officer caught her. The guests moved aside quickly, letting the police do their job. People filmed everything as the bride and groom were arrested at their own wedding. I stood there quietly, watching them fall apart like they once watched me. This wasn't revenge. It was the truth finally being seen. And it wasn't over yet. The next part was mine to live. The room slowly emptied as the police took Emma and Ethan away. Some guests stayed, too shocked to move, while others whispered and stared at me. I didn't care about the looks anymore. For the first time in a long time, I stood tall and proud. I had walked into this wedding with a broken past, but I was leaving with a clear heart. No more lies, no more fear. Just me and the truth. A woman came up to me and said, "You were so brave." I smiled and nodded, though my hands were still shaking. The girl I used to be would have cried and run away. But I wasn't her anymore. I walked outside into the cool evening air. The stars were out, and the sky felt calm and wide. I took a deep breath, letting go of the pain that had lived inside me for so long. I thought of Rose, the woman who helped me heal. I made a promise to myself that I'd help others like she helped me. I wasn't going to live in the shadows anymore. I had plans to start a new job, a new home, and maybe even write my story someday. People needed to hear the truth. Not just about Ethan and Emma, but about how strong a person can be after being broken. My life wasn't over. It was just beginning. As I walked down the road, I didn't look back. I didn't need to. Everything behind me had already been burned to the ground. Now I had a chance to build something new. Something honest. Something mine. The girl they thought they destroyed had returned stronger than ever. And no one would ever silence me again. I wasn't the ex-fiancé anymore. I was the woman who rose, spoke, and walked away free. And that was the best ending I could ever ask for. Enjoyed this video? Don't forget to explore more amazing stories on our channel. Thanks for listening to my little stories. Your one subscription might seem small, but to a storyteller, it's everything.